Hello everyone, it's Judy from Coffee Cookies and Books, and what we're going to do today is a little bit of question and answer. So a little while back, I celebrated getting 1,500 subscribers. Some of you may recall that, and I had asked that if anybody had any questions for me to go ahead and write them down. So I did it in YouTube. I had a long form video, I had the YouTube short, and I also posted it in Instagram. So I had it in a few different places, and I also had my comment section, community section, I guess it's called. So I had a few questions. Now, I don't have a ton, but I did have a few, and they're all really good. So I am pretty much going to answer everybody's questions. Lost track. So I'm going to answer everybody's questions. I'm going to try to keep it as short as I can. I do tend to talk a lot. Now, there are some people who gave me multiple questions, and I am totally okay with that. So we're going to answer all of the questions that I was given. Okay, and underneath, I will put down who asked me the question so that you can see who the person was, because I want to make sure I give credit to everybody who has asked me a question. Okay, so I figure let's get started. Won't waste any more time. So the first person gave me two questions. Okay, first one is, what book would you or do you recommend to everyone? So I have a few favorites, I should say. Like if I was going to go like right now, my favorite book right now, well, it's a series, and that is the Dungeon Crawler Carl series by Matt Denneman. That's my favorite. I'm like totally wrapped up in that series. So I am recommending that right now. If I had to look at everything that I've read in the past, then I would say that the favorite book that's always stuck with me is The Stand by Stephen King. That just had a lot of impact on me, and it's one of the few books that I have reread 3 times. Okay, just phenomenal book. Now, do I recommend that to everybody? No, because it's not the kind of book that is for everybody. I actually think there's a lot of people who would not particularly like that book. I think that the Dungeon Crawler Carl series is the kind of book that more people would like, just because of the nature of how the book is written, everything that's in it. I think it would appeals to more people, male and female. So that's that question, I guess. What is something you enjoy doing outside of reading? So that was the other question. And the one thing I love to do more than anything is bake. Love baking, love creating recipes, trying new things. Some things work, some things don't. It is my relaxation time. I can just, not think about anything, be there in the kitchen, do my thing, have fun doing it. So it's a no pressure sort of thing. And that is the one thing I really love to do other than reading. And I guess, coffee, cookies, and book kind of says that, right? Yeah. So then the next person asked me, have your reading preferences changed over the years? Now, this is my friend Kim from An Oasis of Books. And I know, just like me, that we've gone through a lot of changes just based on our ages alone. And I would say that yes and no, okay? Like, I never read fantasy before. Okay. Thriller, mystery was always my genre. So the closest I got to fantasy was Stephen King, and that's still like kind of horror with maybe a little bit of a fantastical element in it. Um, and then Harry Potter series, which I read the whole thing. So, but that's the closest I got to it. So now I read romance, which is a huge genre that I read, and I read fantasy and sci-fi fantasy. So definitely, I've definitely broadened, but I still read my one of the core readings that I love to do is thriller, horror, mystery. Love it. So I kind of stayed in one place with one thing, but I've added onto it. So that's where my preference is. And I actually prefer how I read now much more because I get so much more out of everything that I'm reading. So yeah, really, really love that. Okay, the next person asked me, is there a book that got you into reading? And I would say that I can remember my collection of Nancy Drew mysteries. And I read them and reread them probably multiple times and loved them. And I can remember getting the odd one for my birthday, and I get maybe the next one for Christmas, and just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I know that my parents were, especially my mom, always encouraged me to keep reading. So that is where my reading started, and it kind of continued. I've never not read. Like I've never gone through a period, at least from the time that I was in like my early teens, where I've never read. I've always read. So yeah, maybe not quite as much as I do now, but I have always read. Okay, so the next ones, she's asked me two questions, and one is your biggest book disappointment, either in premise or conclusion. Um, I think the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I kind of felt like the conclusion of it sort of fizzled out a bit for me because I really loved the first three, four installments of it. And I am actually in the process of rereading that. Don't do a ton of rereads, but that is one that I am in the process of rereading. And uh, so we'll see how I feel. And this is just my second reread of this. See how I feel now. Because I read it back when it first came out, which was quite some time ago. So we'll see how I feel about it now. Because my reading what I like and don't like has changed. From not the genres changed, but kind of I think how I take these books in, that has changed a little bit. Like I did reread The Gunslinger, which is the first book in the Dark Tower series, and I actually think I liked it more than I did the first time. I quite enjoyed it. So yeah, we'll see. But that's my answer to that one. And then her second question, his or her second question is, and have you read 17776 by Jean Bois? And no, I've actually never heard of it. So I will look it up and have a look and see what that is. Okay, so next question came from, what did Amanda give me here? 3 questions. So this is from Amanda's Booktopia, and Amanda is another good friend of mine that I met when I first started doing my channel, and I follow her fairly religiously. So she's given me 3 questions. One is, I would love to know what made you decide to start your channel. And I actually thought about it for probably a year, about a year, I think, around about that. And kind of didn't want to do it because I hate being in front of the camera. I have a background in photography. That's what I did for 25 years. And still work in the industry, just not shooting, as occasionally, but not very much. And I really don't like being in front of the camera. So it actually was a struggle for me to actually get in front of the camera and do a video. But I did it because I've been watching booktube for a long time, and I just felt the need to express how much I was loving everything that I was reading. And a lot of it was based on the recommendations I was getting from all these people that I was listening to and I loved so much. So, you know, I guess it's just my way of kind of giving back. And that was why I started my channel. Her other question was, and what is your favorite book of all time? So that was The Stand by Stephen King. I think I did mention that. Um, I can't, like, I say I like the Harry Potter series, but there isn't one particular book in the series that stands out to me. I just like the whole series. Whereas, like with Stephen King's The Stand, it that book had so much impact on me, creeped me out. I remember the first time I read it, I think I was traumatized forever after reading that one. It's a very hard read, but I loved it. And so, yeah, that one. And what authors are your auto buy authors? So I have a few authors that I buy from all the time, and I'll do different genres. Okay, so in the mystery genre, I read Kathy Reich's books, which are Temperance Brennan mystery stories, and I absolutely love those, and I think that they are fantastic. Um, in, I guess, what you would call police procedural, I like the Longmire series by Craig Johnson. It is a sheriff cowboy in Wyoming and with mysteries and cases, and it's just like, it's fantastic. I love the series. So I love that one, and that's kind of an auto buy for me. And then on the romance side of things, my favorite, absolute favorite romance author is Brittany Sahin. She writes romantic suspense that is off the charts, fantastic, like amazing. So I do love those authors. Those are the ones that I know that I buy pretty much constant, love their books, and just keep reading them. Next question. I think we're moving on. Yep, that was it for Amanda. Let me just grab a drink. Yep, need my water. Okay. Let me just get rid of that. All right, next question. Again, we have somebody who's asked me 3 different questions. Okay. And what is your favorite genre? Well, I think easily, I think my favorite genre is thriller and mystery. And I think that romance is kind of my second favorite, but it's romantic suspense in particular. That is my second favorite. So, that kind of goes, love science fiction, but I don't read quite as much of it as I do the other two. So, yeah, I would say mystery thriller for sure is my favorite. On average, how many books do you read a month? So I'm at about, I'd say 10 is around about the number that I read. Now that does change based on how long the books are, how long the month is, how much work do I have in my regular business? Because if my regular business is super, super busy, I don't get as much time to read. And because I read at night, and that's, so yeah, I don't get quite as much. So yeah, I would say about 10. How do you prevent reading burnout? For me, I haven't actually experienced that, and I don't know if it's because I just don't put any pressure on myself. Like, yes, I pick my TBRs, but you know what? If I don't read them, I don't read them. That's kind of the way it goes for me. I just kind of read at whatever pace I'm comfortable at, and pick up. I look at my TBR as just a set of books that I've picked that are usually very much a random mishmash of stuff, and pick whatever I fancy at the time as my next read, and that's usually how I do it. So I haven't really experienced burnout. Now, in February I had surgery, which is a perfect example. It was minor surgery, but it did kind of throw me off, and had a week where I just wasn't reading as much because I was having a hard time concentrating. So I kept it to a minimum, but I still read 10 books that month. So yeah, I would say 10 is my average. Okay, next one is, congrats, watching your videos is really cozy and I appreciate you making them. My question is, have you read The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson? If not, I highly recommend. It's one of my favorites. And no, I haven't read it yet. I have The Way of Kings. I think it's the first one. I have that, and it is on my cards for my TBR game, but it hasn't got picked. So I know, of course, I've heard a lot about the Stormlight Archive, and do intend to read it. And I also have the Mistborn trilogy. So I have the first 3 books. They're around here somewhere, and plan to read that too. So the first book for that is also in my cards. So at some point, one of the two is going to come on. I think the Final Empire for the Mistborn trilogy came up once, and I didn't get to it because it's a little longer, a little chunkier. I did not get that one read, but if it comes up again, it will have to be read, because that's my rule, is that if it comes up more than once, it gets read. All right, next one. I love your channel and longer videos, very informative and relaxing. The question, besides reading, do you have other hobbies? What else do you do for fun? And a big congratulations. So I did mention that already, that I love to bake, and that is one of the things. Now, one of the other things that I do for fun is I play bingo. And I know that might sound funny, but that's the one time I get out with my best friend, and we go out and we go play bingo, and it's very relaxing. I call it my no-brainer night out. Okay, because bingo doesn't take any brains. You just sit and you dab the numbers. It's very relaxing, and I really enjoy it. So that's kind of the other thing I do for fun. I just don't do it all the time because it gets a little expensive. So, Okay, so the next one is, congratulations. As for my questions, when do you do most of your reading? So I read at night. That's the only time I read. I finish for the day, shut my computer down, go in my bedroom. I have my chair all set up, and I sit and I relax and I read. So that's why people always say, how do you manage to get so many pages in all the time? Easily, at least 100 pages in it in a couple of hours for sure. Just kind of without too much stress and reading very easily. So that's what I do, and that's the time. Okay, now, so the last person I have, she gave me a ton of questions in 2 different places. So she gave me 4 questions in one place, 3 questions in another place. I'm going to answer them all, because I said I was going to answer all the questions. So what 3 books would you bring to a desert island? I didn't read that one ahead of time. I don't know, like if I was going to go to a desert island, you want something that you want to reread, right? I mean, something that, so I think I would bring at least one romance that I really, really like, and I know I'd want to reread. One mystery thriller, which would probably be The Stand, because a nice long book, take a long time to reread that one. And then probably a, I don't know, it would be a little bit up in the air on what it, because I would like to have something that's like fantasy or maybe science fiction or something like that. Maybe maybe Dune, because I really love that book and I have read that one more than once. Um, yeah, I don't know. See, the biggest problem with a lot of these books is they're series. So you don't read something that you don't have the rest of the books for the series because that would suck, right? Yeah. Anyway, okay. So then the next question is your author blurb shares your job as a photographer with us. Does being a photographer influence or hinder your reading of descriptions? No. Does it? I don't think so because a photographer is a visual thing, not a written, right? Photos are different. You're telling a story in every photo that you take, basically. Um, but as far as the descriptions in a book, no. I don't know if she means descriptions or if she means synopsis. I'm not 100% sure which she means. But I do find that, like, I do read all the synopsises of the books. I will read them before I read the book. I don't necessarily read the full synopsis before I buy it all the time because a lot of times I'm buying it based on recommendations. So I'm listening to what other people are saying about the book, which a lot of times that says more than the synopsis will say. Right? Yeah. So anyway, no, I don't think it really does. Maybe it enhances my enjoyment of the books because I'm looking at them and making pictures in my head a little bit, right? Yeah. Next one. Love your desk. Do you have a specific reading nook? Yes, I do. I have my little nook in my bedroom and I have my red velvet wine cranberry velvet chair that I sit in that is super comfy. And that's where I read. I don't like to read in bed because I don't find that all that comfortable. So that's what I find the most comfortable, and that's where I read the most. Next one, which do you prefer, book, Kindle, or audio? Well, I don't do audio at all. And the reason that I don't do audio is because I do not retain anything at all if I do a book through audio. Like nothing. It's like gone. I don't know if it's that I find it really hard to follow the story in the book. I think that's my problem with it. I don't even like podcasts, where you can't see somebody talking. I don't like that. I like to be able to visualize the person, see the person. So I only do print books and Kindle, and I like both fairly evenly, except there are some books that I don't feel I get as much enjoyment out if I read them on a Kindle. So there are certain ones like longer fantasies that have a lot of world building, a lot of intricacy in them. Science fiction, I do not like to read on my Kindle. I want to read it physically. So there are certain books that I don't like reading that way. Now, on my Kindle, I don't mind reading romances, mystery thrillers, particularly cozy mysteries. I totally will read all that on my Kindle. So it really kind of depends what genre it is. And if the book is really super, super long, I typically don't like to read it on my Kindle. I like my Kindle reads to be quick, fast, and easy. So that's why those other genres are probably the ones that are like that, right? Yeah. Okay. Then from her other 3 questions is, what top 3 books are on your wish list to read that you never get around to? Oh, there's so many. Oh my gosh. It's like 3? Do I have 3? I don't know. Honestly, off the top of my head, I can't, like, I'm looking at my bookshelves, from here, And yeah, I can't even think of what that I'd never get around to. So the problem when you have a lot of books, and I have a lot of books, I have like, I think somewhere in that range of 800 books. When you have that many books, it is very hard to, that, which is why I do my TBR game the way I do, that all my books are in those piles. Because I want to read everything, obviously, that I have on my shelves. And I eventually will get around to all of them. But I don't have any one in particular because I'm always excited about the ones that actually do come up. I don't know if that makes sense or not. So it's not any one particular book, it's all of them that I want to read. Yeah, so that's my best answer. Do you read any Christian Thehan series? No, and I don't know. I've never heard of it. So that's another one, along with the other one that was mentioned, that I will look them up. Do you ever read Spanish, Italian, or French detective series? And if so, who are your favorites? No, not that I can think of. No. And I mean, I'd have to read the English translations because I don't read any of those languages. So, but I don't think so. I think that all of the books that I read that are detective based are all English based. I mean, I think the closest I have to a translation, and I don't know if you call it detective, but it's definitely an intrigue, political intrigue, is the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series, the first three books, and that is Swedish, a Swedish translation. And I really love the first book and have the second book in my cards to read. So yeah, so that's actually it. I think that's all my questions. Looks like that is all of the questions. I just want to say thank you to everybody who gave me all these fantastic questions. I know that, you know, I was thinking I was going to get some technical questions, didn't get any of those, which is always a wonderful thing, that people are actually more interested in what I'm reading and how I'm reading and, and all the fun of it, which it is fun. And I am really enjoying having my YouTube channel, being able to talk to other people about books. Because, like my best friend, she's not a reader. My dad's not a reader. My dad's partner, Carol, she is a bit of a reader. And so we do talk about a little bit about books, but she doesn't read much of the same things that I do. My sister's not much of a reader. So I don't really have a lot of people that I can talk to about books, which is why now I have you guys, which is fantastic. And I love it. So that's it for now. I probably would do another one of these a little later on when my channel maybe gets a little bigger. If it does, hopefully it will keep growing. And honestly, you can ask me questions at any time. You don't need to wait for me to ask you to ask me a question. Okay? All right, so that's it for this video, and we'll see you the next time around.